Welcome back to the Not Your Mama podcast. This is your host, Kelly Bryant, and I'm joined today by style coach extraordinaire, Judith Gaton. Welcome, Judith.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Actually, I feel like this has been like a few weeks in the making until we count down to today. So I'm really excited.
I'm so excited to have you. Tell us first, what are your pronouns and what emoji do you most identify as?
I am she, her. Those are my pronouns. And my emoji that I most identify with is the dancing lady in the red dress.
Oh, she's mine too, actually. That
Yeah.
is always like some people respond with the like celebration hands or the, what did someone call them? Praise hands. I am always like, whatever we've just like agreed to, I'm like, dancing lady.
Yes. Automatic dancing lady times like 10, maybe some heart emojis thrown in for good measure, but definitely I feel her on a whole new level. Like she's my lady.
See, I actually identify you with the red lipstick kiss emoji. That's what I always think of when I see your content, your posts. Like you've got a vibe.
Yeah, and I think this recent like Camp Glamp is a big pink lip. So that makes sense. I could totally see that. So yeah, I think it's a combination of the dancing lady kiss emoji hearts all in one.
Amazing. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I love to not do, big, long, drawn out introductions because I would love for you to tell us what you feel like is relevant. What do you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to know is I'm a style coach for curvy women. And I really just like this whole thing came about because I had lost some weight and then regained the weight and kind of realized, oh, wait, there needs to be sort of like an aftercare for like the identity shift that happens when your panties stop fitting you and you don't recognize the woman across like the mirror from you. And it's like, oh, this is a thing. Okay. And like, obviously, I love style. I've always loved style. I have a minor in fashion design, but like
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it's really cool. And my niche came about, I was like, all these fabulous, amazing, brilliant women I knew were struggling in this area of like confidence and style. Like their brains didn't match their outsides. Like there was some disconnect between how they felt on the inside about themselves and how they looked outwardly. So um that's what I do in a nutshell. But I think the coolest thing about being a coach in general is we just get to kind of make shit up as we go along. We're just like,
You're like,
oh,
this is a niche now.
this is a niche now. It's because I declared it. Yes. Like, and we get to like experiment with different things and like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I translated this into some form or fashion to help my people? So, yeah, I think that's why I love being a coach so much. And I particularly love my niche because I get to bring in all these like really cool little things from different places. And
I
help
mean, you get to
people.
play all day is what I like looking in from the outside. Like when you're a style coach, I feel like your life is just playing.
That's how I feel. That's totally how I feel. I'm like, oh, so I could watch like RuPaul's Drag Race and then some other random show and like Naked Thought Baby and then create something for my people. Oh, okay. This is like so fun.
That's
Or
awesome.
I get to help people, really see themselves in a different way. Yeah, it's delicious. I get to play all day. Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
So do you tell me personal life? Do you have kids? Where are you at in your life?
So I don't have any children. I'm the second of 7 children.
So you did a lot of parenting as a child.
Yeah, I'm like the functional oldest, as they would say in my family. My older sister, God
No
bless her.
shade. No shade.
No shade, all love. She's just a big lovey, squishy person. So, and we're not that far apart in age. So it just sort of, I'm the functional oldest, and then there's 6 after me. So I don't have any children of my own. I have a white fluffy dog named Lilo, and my husband, who I call Pookie. But sometimes people on Instagram reverse it too. They're like, is this Lilo or Pookie? I'm like, no, Pookie is the husband, Lilo is the dog.
So the reason I had to ask if you have kids is because what you said about that identity shift of losing weight, gaining weight, that is the postpartum identity shift. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, is because one of the things that comes up over and over again with my postpartum clients is that they're like, I don't feel like myself. And part of that is almost always that they're not wearing their normal clothes. that they're like, none of my clothes fit. I'm like wearing sweats. Like, I don't feel like myself. And so I had to ask. And so I'm wondering, is that identity shift thing? Is that something that comes up a lot for you guys, for you and your folks?
Oh, all the time. And I've helped a lot of moms in postpartum. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few clients who just come to me to help them in that transition, sort of to
Mm-hmm.
find their way back to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the maternity wear, I have one client in mind in particular, she's kind of like a rocker chick, and she has
Mm-hmm.
like purple and blue hair and rocks leather
Nope. You're
jackets.
not
Like
finding that.
she was like, "What is happening with maternity wear?" She's like, "I don't want to wear floral prints. Like somebody shoot me in the face."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." So we went on a hunt to find her a maternity wardrobe that fit her personality
Mm-hmm.
and then plan for her transition back into her regular wardrobe, advising her that some parts of her body will have shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And things were not gonna be sitting the way that they did. I had a few clients, their hips did not go
Mm-hmm.
back to normal, so to speak, and I
Mm-hmm.
put that in air quotes, which no one can see, but their hips didn't adjust, so they had
Mm-hmm.
to sort of plan for a different shaped body than when they
Mm-hmm.
went in. The underwear that you wore initially, your lady parts will have shifted. They will look a little different, boo
I
boo.
have
We
to
need to talk about it.
confess, I'm literally, my daughter is 2.5. I have not nursed in over a year. I am wearing maternity bra.
Yeah.
Because once I tasted the sweet nectar of no underwires, I was like, I am never going back to real bras.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, totally. And this is one of those things that people are constantly asking me in my postpartum programs. They're like, "Are my another one? I don't know if you hear this. Feet. Your
Yep.
feet grow when you're pregnant a lot of the time." They're like, "I don't." They're like, "Will I ever go back to the way I was?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But you can't like pause your style until you know, right? And that can be, I think, a hard pill for people to swallow, that they feel like maybe they're like admitting defeat or just like wasting money if they buy pants that fit their hips or shoes that fit their feet for the first year postpartum that they never wear again.
Yeah, and I think you hit two like common themes on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it a waste of money to dress myself for this phase and then the phase like a month after, the
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy has occurred and my tummy has gone down slightly?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just wait till I've lost all the quote unquote baby weight? There's like monetary concern, but then there's the other concern of like, if I buy for where I am now, does that mean I've given up on trying to get my pre-baby, body
Mm-hmm.
back? And I think we need to sort of disentangle all these ideas from each other because I feel like they end up getting into like this big wiry clusterfuck that doesn't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like the money, let's separate all your money thoughts out from your ideas about your body.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, there's such an like there's a big correlation, right? It's
Right.
worth spending money to dress a skinny body.
Right.
It's worth spending money on clothes if they're a size 8 or less. But if they're bigger than that, then that's like that body doesn't deserve clothes. Like what?
Like what is happening, right? And we're allowed to dress the baby bump, but we're not allowed to dress the jiggly belly that no longer is housing a human. And that just
my money thoughts, I was like, I did not buy maternity clothes. I literally bought one pair of maternity jeans and I borrowed a pair of maternity shorts. And I was like, I'm wearing my regular clothes. Foolish now because I realized I stretched them all out and I couldn't wear them again. But in the moment, I was like, I am not wasting the money on buying maternity clothes when I know that like they're just for this period of time. So I totally get that. But I think there's something to be said for like, you're going to take better care of the body that you dress well.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah. Well, and it starts with a mindset. Like before you even get to like the picking out of the clothing,
Mm-hmm.
there's a thought you're having about yourself and a feeling that is produced from that thought. Then you go take action. So if your thought is like, oh, it's a waste of money, well, how do you feel when you think that? Probably not particularly all that great. And then you're going to make a set of choices about what you're wearing that are probably not particularly great. And then so the
Mm-hmm.
cycle continues. So I think it's like we need to have grace for women who have, women or people who have these thoughts, and people who have thoughts like, it's a waste of money. Like, of course you're going to think that. You're a human. Like, you've been socialized to believe that we can spend money on skinny bodies and the only money we should spend on fat bodies is to get them skinny again. Like, of course you think that. Totally okay. It's completely normal. However, do you like how you've been showing up from this thought pattern? And when you're pregnant and your feet have widened and things have shifted, the last thing you need is ill-fitting clothes as a reminder of your body changing and how uncomfortable you are. Like, you already have the physical sensations. Can we not add to that by like pants that are too tight that you have to rub your belly at the end of the day, the shoes that you're so relieved to get off, and you have that like crawl, a walk of shame because your feet ache? Like, can we like eliminate those kinds of things? Because you got bigger fish to fry than whether or not you've spent $30 on a pair of shoes that are wide.
Right.
Or you bought the maternity jeans that you're going to wear the shit out of for the next 9-10 months,
Right.
Like, like, have some compassion for yourself. Of course you're thinking this, but also like, do you like what you're doing from this thought pattern?
This is such a great place, I feel like, to shout out my introduction to you is that we are both part of the Life Coach School Self-Coaching Scholars. And I was on a call where you were getting coached and you referred to this, what I think of as one of your core tenets of your coaching practice, which is stop wearing broke ass panties. Yes. Like, you are literally like, these are very strong, competent, capable people who are showing up in the boardroom, who are showing up like doing these things with a freaking wedgie, with like a camel toe, and being like, oh, like all I can think about is like pulling my underwear out of my crotch because I didn't buy underwear that fits the body that I'm living in right now.
Yeah. Or like they're like, oh my God, I love this. And you can tell when like people have wedgies, and maybe just because I'm attuned to this, and they're like trying to strategically walk or like slide in their chair to like get the wedgie to escape. And you're like, oh, you're uncomfortable in your clothes. What is happening over there? Like, just go dig it out. We all know what's happening. It's totally fine. Or like, even, the like the bra shuffle where you're like moving your shoulders to get the bra to come back down, or like the strap that keeps falling. Like, there's this little dance that people do. And I'm like, okay, we've all been there. I mean, even I have a story I tell my community that like I wore a pair of Spanx that I knew were too damn small for me. And I go to court and I'm giving this like brilliant oral argument, and then I feel my belly like release from the Spanx. And I can feel them rolling, and I'm like, oh my God, right now, really, body? Okay, no. And it's like bloop, bloop, bloop. And there it went, right? What a distraction for like more important shit to do. So like broke ass panties, literally, but also any garment or anything in your life that you know damn well does not fit you, does not serve you. And you continue to perpetuate this like weird cycle of doing things you know are not good for you, wearing things you know don't serve you, keeping relationships in your life you know don't work for you, and then just like staying there with the excuse that like, any number of excuses, like you're comfortable.
Yeah. I literally just had this conversation yesterday with someone about urinary incontinence, where she's like, I'm like, just imagine how much brain space you're going to open up once you're not everything you're doing going, where is the bathroom? When, like, if I go to this event, is there going to be a bathroom? Am I going to have to ask where it is? Is there going to be a line? Like, it's just, we fill our gorgeous fucking brains with all this stupid shit about like literally how to like be our biology. Like, how do I have breasts while giving oral argument in court? And like, we're thinking about like, what is my stomach doing? Is my underwear up my butt? Like, it's absurd. And I guarantee you, men are not doing these things.
For the most part, although I've had a few male clients who lost a lot of weight, and when they came to me, and they still were wearing their undies from 40, 50, 60 pounds ago.
Bless them.
And I'm just like, okay, what? And these men, I mean, these are men who make like 6 figures, 7 figures. These are not men who can't afford new underwear, but they were so afraid of regaining the weight that they were like, oh my gosh, I can't
That
because
fear of regaining the weight.
the fear of regaining the weight is so palpable, and I think that's just, like, for humans, in
Mhm.
general. I don't know that men ruminate about, how far their breasts stick out in the room, but perhaps they do. But I think every human has their thing, right? Like, every
Mhm.
human has their thing that they're concerned about. What I want everyone to know is what if we just normalized that your body is kind of jiggly and wiggly and welcome to being a human and none of it's symmetrical and all of it's a little funky. Like we're weird creatures.
Mhm.
And if we just normalize that for each other, like, oh, hi, weird creature, your shit's weird too, and yours is lumpy and humpy. Oh, welcome,
Mhm.
right? And then we decided our bodies were not the problem. Nothing had to change about our bodies, but we could just go find things that work for us and serve us as we are now. We would
Mhm.
all be freed up. We'd free up so much brain space to like actually go do important shit.
Yeah, I someone just posted this the other day about the thing that hangs over like from your armpit over your bra.
Come chichos. Your
Chichos.
chichos.
Someone posted your arms don't lift over your head if you don't have that extra skin.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, that's absolutely correct." And
Yeah.
the same is true of our triceps. Like the bat wings that everybody's so anxious about. I'm like, I have bat wings. Everybody has bat wings.
You
Your
need them to
arm,
move.
yes, you have to have extra skin so that when your bones are in different positions, like they can you imagine if you didn't have skin that stretched? Like same with
Right.
pregnancy. It's like if you go through a pregnancy and your skin doesn't stretch, you are going to be in a hard way, my friend. It's going to be like alien. Like you need your skin to stretch.
Well, and here's the thing too, and I think there's this I'm so glad you brought this up because what I have a lot of women who come to me who have natural curvature to the front of their body.
Mhm.
So for some women, and it doesn't matter how thin you are, you have that little protrusion because literally your hoo-ha, your lady parts are housed in that little pouch, my friend. Some people's uteruses are tilted a little forward. So they're going to have a little more pronounced. If you housed a baby or you housed anything in your uterus, let's say
Mhm.
you even had fibroid tumors and you didn't produce a
Mhm.
baby at the end of it, you're going to have a little pouch because something was housed there. It's actually normal and natural that there's a little bit of a curvature there.
Mhm.
But I think in like our quest for smoothness and flatness as a culture, we actually forget that normal, like regular human bodies have a little bit of roundness there because that's where your lady parts are.
Yeah.
And I
This
find
is
so many clients just struggling with that whole concept, and it breaks my heart. It just
mhm.
breaks my heart.
And one of the things that I'm constantly pointing out, like I'll do a tie-in for like nerdy anatomy. Um, that like quote unquote pooch is also dependent on the curvature of your low back. So I
Yeah.
have known many people who have 6 inches of thickness from their spine to the front of their body, but if the natural curve of their low back is deeper, that's going to protrude further off the front of their body.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're having this pooch and low back pain, we maybe need to look at, do you lack abdominal strength? Do you have too much curvature of your low back? If that's just how you is, boo, like, yeah, that's like you
Yeah.
have organs.
Right, like, there are things that are housed in there, like, what is happening? Like, you don't carry those on, like, a sack on your back and you take them in your fabulous purse, like, they're in your
That would be
body.
ideal though, honestly.
I think for some of us, like, I think it might be ideal. I remember I had fibroid tumor, so I had, like,
Mm,
what we call the alien, and it was large, it was
mhm,
weirdly very large, and I remember the doctor was like, "Did you not notice?" And I'm like, "No, I just kind of like I'm fat." I thought he was like, "Well, you didn't notice this?" Like he kept touching me. He was like, "How did you not notice this?" And I'm like, I don't know. I just thought I was fat." And like I just think it's like so illustrative of like we could lose such like in touch with what our bodies are doing and like
mhm,
our actual human biology and like the curvature of our back, and the fact that our organs are housed there, or like our uterus is tilted, or our cervix is
mhm,
tilted forward, and that's going to cause more of that. Like whatever the case is, like we lose sight of that when we are like focusing on screens that are teeny tiny and letting that dictate what we're supposed to look like or what it's
mhm,
supposed to be like. And
mhm.
it's different for everybody.
I think
Everybody, literally.
I think we could all benefit from like s looking at like, I don't know, I'm thinking like Aboriginal, Native, like people who just did not have this shit. Like if you look at like early photos and paintings of these cultures where like they were not being shoved into corsets and stuff, like titties were everywhere. Like it's just like it's just how bodies are. I think
Yeah.
it really like, and I see it, it really actually pisses me off. Like when people will say like, someone who looks like that shouldn't wear things like that.
Oh, don't get me started on that. I think
And
that's
I'm
one of the
just like,
meanest quotes in the like, I think it's one of the meanest quotes that said so quippy without thought. Oh, like just because they make it in your size doesn't mean you should wear it.
oh,
What on earth? What? Like when did we start? Like when did that be? Like why is that a thing?
I
Why do
think
we
it's an,
talk about each other like that? It's not
I
cool.
literally want, like, I want to challenge people. If you have this idea of like women over a certain age or a certain size shouldn't wear blank, I want you to go. I have no idea what the hell you'd Google, but I want you to find a photo. Maybe it's like a Renoir or something of like someone who is fat, like a fat woman, and literally just look and ask yourself, what is wrong with this?
Yeah.
What is the part of this that I'm taking issue with? Is it that she has skin? Everyone has skin. Is it like, what about this is objectively gross? And the answer is nothing. Like if you actually look at it and you have to pinpoint, and this is, we're going to get back to thoughts in a moment, but you can look at this on yourself, right? So if you like are having some body image stuff and you can like feel like you can handle it and talk yourself through it, look in a mirror and ask yourself, what is objectively wrong with what is there?
Well, I think too, and I think this is such an important thing to bring up because I think getting to a place of objectivity takes a lot of like self education. And I think going to coaches who teach on this,
Mm-hmm.
like ourselves, about beliefs that we're socialized to take on as true
Mm-hmm.
without questioning.
Mm-hmm.
So, clients of mine who tell me that they have to have a specific waist to bust ratio in order to be considered attractive. And that's a socialized belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have all these 90s songs about like 24, 36, like, right. We have all these like, Sir Mix-a-Lot has a whole line in like
Yeah.
Baby
Yeah.
Got Back about body
36,
measurement.
24, 36.
Right?
Only if
Right?
she's 5'3".
Only if she's 5'3", right? Like Brick House, another song that has
Yep.
measurements. Our obsession with Marilyn Monroe and her measurements,
Mm-hmm.
even though if we see her without a girdle, the woman has a little bit of a tummy, normal, natural things
Mm-hmm.
going on because she's a human. But we're socialized to believe that a certain ratio is required to be
Mm-hmm.
considered attractive, feminine, beautiful. And I think it's hard for a lot of in my experience with my clients to get to a place of objectivity
Mm-hmm.
when we have to go through all the things that they believe to be true
Mm-hmm.
and point them out as that's some shit somebody made up. That's some shit
Mm-hmm.
somebody made up. Like there are no hourglasses, there are human bodies. There are no
Mm-hmm.
apples, there are no pears or rectangles or
Mm-hmm.
squares. There are human bodies.
Right.
And like really dismantling all of that to get to the heart of, okay, now that you know all of this is some shit that was handed to you,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to make of it?
Mm-hmm.
And giving them back agency to think what
Mm-hmm.
they want about their own body. But I think a huge part of it is number one, we have to change your visual diet. So I think, yes, go Google like Rubens paintings, those
Mm-hmm.
lovely bodacious curves and
Mm-hmm.
rolls all over the place.
Yeah, I
Follow.
wouldn't recommend Google fat women naked. Like, don't.
Leonard Nimoy actually is one of my favorite like photography books, which is weird. You think of Spock, you don't think of him taking like pictures of nude fat chicks, but it's one of the most beautiful like nude art photography books, and it's all these gorgeous plus size women who were dancers. They were in a dance troupe, and he photographed them, and it's gorgeous. Follow women who are plus size,
Mm-hmm.
just like plus size style on Instagram. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna pull up a ton of stuff. And follow women with different hair textures, different
Mm.
skin colors,
Mm-hmm.
different ages. I follow women who are in their 70s, who are in their
Mm-hmm.
60s, women who look very different from me, because what I want to create is a visual diet that is diverse and colorful and gorgeous and beautiful. So
Mm-hmm.
my brain sees different hair textures, different body shapes, different skin colors, different ages as beautiful and normal.
Mhm.
But the algorithm, if you look up Fitspo all
Mhm.
day and
Mhm.
postpartum bodies that
Right.
are,
And if
perfect.
you look up Fitspo, I guarantee you're going to see a bunch of skinny white women with
Right.
straight hair. Probably they look a lot like me. Like, so this is true also if you, especially if you're a person of color, but anyone should be looking at, like, even if I'm interested in fitness, are the fitness accounts I follow a variety of sizes, a variety of colors, a variety of life stage, like experiences? I mean, one thing I want to pull, because you just reminded me, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I want to point people to the episode with Kara Trakta. If you're thinking, if your defense for disliking fat bodies is that they're not healthy, I need you to go listen to that episode because it's not true. The short version is our health behaviors, things like chronic stress and how we talk to and about ourselves, actually are, like, you can take weight out of the equation and just look at health behaviors, and they're a better predictor for health outcomes.
Yes, preach girl, preach girl. Yes.
So go listen to that episode because I don't want to derail our conversation. But I would love to circle back to is you hinted at this thoughts, feelings, actions part of the model. And I would love to talk about why style matters. Like, if we put style in the T, the F, or the A, like, what do we get? And so for anyone who's listening, I've explained this to a lot of my people, but I am not a life coach school coach. The model is just the life coach school's way of explaining why humans are the way we are and why the world works the way it does.
Right. And a lot of thought leaders use, think, feel, and do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily prescribe to the model in the way in which the life coach school teaches it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of versions of the model,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't even we can remove sort of the top and the bottom and get to the
Mm-hmm.
three core parts, which is you have a thought, which causes a feeling, which causes you to take action based upon how you're feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
just that fundamental part. And styles in the F line, that's where I like to put it. Because I think if we put
That's
style.
fun.
Right, I think so. And I think it's more expansive because if we put style in the feeling line, then it's completely independent of our weight, our size, our
Mm-hmm.
body, our hair texture, our skin color, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Postpartum, prepartum, like wherever
Mm-hmm.
you are in that phase, like it's all independent of that. So if we want to produce a feeling of stylish, if we want to feel
Mm-hmm.
feel stylish, then we get to choose the thoughts we think that produce that.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives us so much license to create our own definition
Mm-hmm.
of what it means to be stylish so we can produce that feeling for ourselves.
I think what I like about this is that often, I'm sure everybody's done this, like, something becomes stylish, right? So we put, like, style in the seat where we're like, I'm going to wear this thing. And then we have all kinds of thoughts and feelings about it where you're like trying to function in something that's not you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I feel so weird. And, like, you're not creating a feeling of being stylish at all when you're in someone else's style.
Yeah, totally. And I love to work on personal style statements with my clients and like sort of teach them that process so that wherever they happen to be in life, whatever role they're taking on, they can reproduce a new style statement for themselves wherever they
Mm-hmm.
are. I think when we
Mm-hmm.
get fixated on things like you're classic or you're bohemian, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, what day of the week, darling? Like it depends.
Yeah.
So I think if we're more expansive with it, then we get to define like what it means and how we want to show up that we believe to be stylish. And that's going to be different for everyone. And it's going to
Mm-hmm.
fluctuate depending on, where you are in your monthly cycle, where you
Mm-hmm.
are in your postpartum cycle, where you
Mm-hmm.
are just as a natural human body, like doing
Mm-hmm.
its thing, week to week. So I think if we get more expansive with it, sometimes our joggers are going to
Yeah.
be the most stylish thing in the world and rocking some sneaks with a little pair of
Mm-hmm.
joggers. Sometimes it's going to be wearing a fancy dress, what we consider fancy. Sometimes it's going to be rocking a clean pair of pajamas because that's all we could muster for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And like
And you did
leaving
a
room for
whole
all of
post
it.
on that. And I think that there's I just this Christmas asked for 2 pairs of fancy pajamas. First of all, I get comments on my fancy pajamas in my stories all the time.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
are,
Yes.
I consider them to be aligned with my signature style, right? Like I've got a set of black and I have a set of leopard. Like, and
Ooh, yes.
they're my style. They're what I like to wear. I feel good in them. I film freaking lives in them. So like obvious or stories in them. I'm like, obviously I like these clothes. And that can feel stylish to me, right? Even if like you might not like my pajamas, but like I get to feel stylish in my pajamas no matter what.
Right, right. And you can wear your yoga pants or your stretchy
Mm-hmm.
pants and
Mm-hmm.
still decide that you feel stylish.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love putting style in the F line, because we get
Mm-hmm.
to create that anytime we want based upon what we're thinking and not necessarily based upon what we're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Because your garments are a pile of fabric that have no magical qualities or capabilities. They're just piles of fabric. And then you
Yeah.
have a thought about them. And I think we have to remember that, because I think we're sold a lot of times, like, especially during Christmas or certain times of the year, like the right dress.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will feel magical
Right.
and merry and bright. And I'm like, oh no, that's not how this
Mm-hmm.
works.
And if your whole family is wearing matching outfits, then you've got your shit together.
Oh, yes. Oh, my mom's, especially in the fall. Oh, dear God. The fall pictures. Can we,
Mm-hmm.
can we talk about that? For the parents who obsess over the fall pictures, I love y'all. But I love y'all so much, because I understand the need
Mm-hmm.
to present this like perfectly curated picture of your family looking adorable, because you believe that's a reflection on you and how put together and awesome you
Mm-hmm.
are. And then you're keeping up with the Insta Joneses, who have all posted pictures of their kids in their cute little jeans and white t-shirt outfits
Mm-hmm.
in the fall with the leaves. Oh, boo boo, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
here's what
just a
I would
thought.
it's just a thought. Like, how is it that you want to feel? Is it you want to
Mm-hmm.
feel put together? Then let's like work on that in your thought line before we ever drive your family crazy with you trying to find the perfect outfit for all of you to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Let's do this live. So
yeah.
I'm wearing a pair of leggings. These leggings they are black and purple and blue and kind of like
Yes,
tie-dye looking. That is a fact.
that is a
They're
fact.
also 3 or 4 years old. Like if I take a close look, I'm like, oh, the knees are starting to wear a little bit.
Little
Those are
pilling somewhere, I'm assuming. Yeah.
actually no, they're fantastic leggings. There's no
Ooh,
pilling. There's just
nice.
like the pattern is starting to get a little less obvious in certain places. Facts. The thought that I have about these pants is I love them. I love these. I get compliments on them all the time. I They are my style. They're quintessentially my style. And I feel like a badass when I wear these. So that's my feeling is
Boom.
badass. I could wear the exact same pants and put them on in the morning thinking, I need to buy new leggings. Like these are getting really kind of like stretched out in the knees. They're not looking good. I could be sitting there in the mirror, bending over and being like, is the butt wearing too thin? Like all the
You're telling
things.
your kids, can you look at mommy's ass? Can you see my panties?
This is one of the very important reasons that we need to have some mobility, because you got to be able to squat, bend over, and look between your legs in the mirror.
Right.
This is what we train for, Judith. But the pants have not changed. Like objectively, the pants are exactly the same. But if I'm going into it thinking like, these are kind of like see-through, I hope no one can see my underwear. I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, if people see my underwear, they know I'm wearing it. Like, and that's totally fine. Someone else can totally disagree. Someone else can be like, oh, it is very important to me that and of course, if I was like a lawyer in court, I would be like,
Yeah, we want booties covered then,
yes.
presumptively. That would be good.
But I get to choose how I feel based on what part of these circumstances I focus on. And
Absolutely.
so I would love if you can like, I don't know if you have tips or tricks or something like that for like, if you don't actually have the money or the time or the interest in going and trying on new clothes and buying things, like how do you feel better about your style without changing anything?
So I think mindset first, right? So before you even like embark on a shopping spree, this is for all of my clients. Like we need to figure out what you're thinking about yourself and then how you're feeling, and then what you're selecting to put on your body from that place. So one example I give is, let's say we go to your closet and there's tons of clothes that are from your like pre-baby days or your pre-baby weight, right?
Mhm.
And you're looking at all of that. Are you feeling shame? Is it a little bit of a mind fuck? Are you like, oh, I can't fit in any of this stuff? All right, well, fuck it. I'll just wear what fits. Then you happen to put on like the same old thing that you're kind of not excited about and you know was well worn. You put it on and you're feeling shame or guilt or just not excited. Like that is a cycle you perpetuate every day by the fact that you're walking into a place that is not primed for your success in getting ready. It's not primed for you to feel stylish.
Mhm.
So, like, really notice, and then we don't have to like go buy anything, but are you surrounding your getting ready area with little piles of shame and reminders of things that you don't fit into?
Mm.
Well, we can clear that mind fuck up right away without you having to buy a damn thing.
Mhm.
And then notice when you're getting ready, what's the kind of thing you're telling yourself?
Mhm.
How are you feeling in that process? Because that's going to dictate ultimately what you decide to put on your body. If you're like, oh, it's so much trouble to get ready. Oh, it's such a hassle. Well, if you're going to wear jeans and a t-shirt versus your stained sweatpants and your
Mhm.
free swag tee, it's actually the same amount. Like the math is the same.
Yes.
You got
And this
two items.
is, I literally was just talking about this on a live that I did moments before we started, but you get to choose which kind of uncomfortable you can be. I think a lot of people think that if they just keep wearing their sweats, keep wearing their stuff that doesn't fit, keep wearing their like what I'm going to call sloppy, whatever, but you're like messy clothes, that you're opting out of feeling uncomfortable. That like you're just not looking at the closet so you don't have to deal with the feelings. And it doesn't work like that. You're still
No.
dealing with just a different set of feelings about, every time you go to the bathroom and catch yourself in the mirror being like, "Oh, I look like crap. Oh, I'm wearing these awful
Or
like."
someone takes a picture of you and your
Mm,
brand new kid and you're like, "Oh my god, is that what I really look like?" And then you're
mhm,
like policing Facebook and Instagram
mhm,
because God forbid someone should tag you in a picture of you and your brand new kid and you're like
mhm,
live in fear of that.
mhm.
Like those feelings don't go away.
So you
Those-
can choose to like sit in front of your closet and pull out the stuff that doesn't fit and like feel the shame. Like
yeah.
acknowledge that it's there and acknowledge that it's uncomfortable and that you still will feel you'll it will be easier to have nice thoughts about yourself if you put yourself in clothes that you like that fit you now that are a little bit more your style or feel more like you.
Right. And we like taking little steps to prime you for a getting ready experience that you'll actually enjoy. So, yeah, we're going to like clean out the stuff that doesn't fit you. Get just like we can archive it is what I call. So if you want to archive it and keep it later like a museum collection of art pieces, like go archive it somewhere else where we're not going to get ready and where we're going to see it every day.
Mhm.
So we clean up that space. So at least that is not how we start our day with these little reminders of things that don't fit us.
Mhm.
And then we get to actually objectively see what remains.
Mhm.
Because I think so many times we're telling ourselves, I have all these clothes, back to our conversation, like, I don't want to spend money. Oh my God, what a waste. Well,
Mhm.
actually, do you really have that many clothes that you actually wear that actually fit you? That's a very different matter than just like having mass accumulation of garments in your
Mhm.
closet.
Mhm.
So, like, just priming the space again, like priming yourself very, very slowly to have a getting ready experience you actually
Mhm.
enjoy. And it can start with
Yeah.
environmental cues, but also just really paying attention to like, what am I thinking about myself during this process? And if it's
Mhm.
really negative, hi, fellow human, welcome. That's what coaches are for. Go
Mhm.
get yourself some coaching. Raise your hand, say, hey, I'm having these thoughts and I see how they're not serving me anymore.
Mhm.
I want out of this thought loop.
Mhm. And I think one thing there's that archive option. One thing that I have found super helpful with getting rid of stuff is like picturing that stuff's next life. Like maybe you're going through this process where you're trying to acclimate to having a new body that doesn't look like your old body, but you can't bring yourself to get rid of this stuff. It's like go sell it. If the money, like, right, let's tackle one mind fuck at a time. Like, if the money is really screwing with you, go sell it, consign it, whatever. If it's just like the waste, go get on your local buy nothing Facebook group and find someone who wants that stuff. And like, think of this as an opportunity of like going through. My style totally changed from pre to post pregnancy. Like, this is an opportunity to choose on purpose what you want to dress yourself in. And by getting rid of that stuff, you're giving yourself the space to see what's next.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Like, I love, and I talk to my postpartum moms about this, like in particular, is like, this is like your brand new opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how beautiful. Like, this is a chance to decide, like, do I even like this?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want this? How do I envision myself a year from now? Will she even be bothered about that t-shirt that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
fit? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, it's a logical fallacy to say like you're saving money by keeping things you're not wearing. Like that's actually not how it works. Like that's a sunk cost. The money has already been spent. That money is already gone. There's no like garment bank where we like keep points for you on like the shit you keep that doesn't work for you. Like that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could release ourselves from the idea that we're saving by keeping things that aren't serving us, we can make space for so many new beautiful things, including new and beautiful thoughts we want to think about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Once we release the idea that it has to look a certain way, it should be a certain way, you should be a certain size. Like if we can free you up from all of that shit, like what amazing delicious things can you think next,
Mm-hmm.
and what can you go do from this new like place that you're creating, that you're in charge of. I think if we could just remind ourselves of that, like you get to carve this brand new identity. Like, what do you want it to look like?
So if you've taken everything that doesn't work anymore, that you're like, this is a no, you've archived it, you've sold it, you've given it away, you've got, 3 items in your closet, maybe, and you actually do, you're like, I'm in, Judith, I want to invest in like my new style. I'm just like imagining the mind drama of, and I just saw somebody post a reel of like trying to be body positive when trying on bathing suits. Like, just repeatedly being like, well, this is too much like this doesn't fit like how, like what is the actual process of like ordering a bunch of shit online that doesn't fit and you send it back? Like, is there like a tactical way to go about doing this?
Oh, hell yeah. So first of all, I would say like, if we're going to build from the ground up, it does not, we don't have to bring in all the things all at once, because that would be horribly fucking overwhelming for most people. Even in, this sort of COVID world where we have to order things online and we can't physically go try them on. Like, no. We pick one item and we can build an amazing, gorgeous, beautiful, fabulous wardrobe one item at a time. So our focus is maybe we replace our maternity jeans that we really know are no longer fitting us, and we start there. We're just going to focus on purchasing new jeans. And we're going to like pick a brand that we want to try. We're going to measure ourselves and not just say, oh, I think I'm a blah, blah, blah. No, boo, boo. That's not, that's like a recipe for disaster. Actually measure your body, go to the size chart online and buy your top favorite pair of jeans. If you have more finances at your disposal, your top 2 favorite pair of jeans in 2 sizes. And then it's a game. And it's not all hanging on this one item that's going to arrive and be like the holy grail of style. Like that's too much pressure to put on any garment. But if we're like, okay, I'm going to have like 2 or 4 pairs coming in, and we're just going to see what works. We're just here to see what fits. And it's not about me. These clothes are an audition to see if they're going to get a role in my movie. And sometimes we're going to decide I'm going to go in a different direction. You did not work for the part. You did not fit our vision. Thank you so much. Then it's like not about you having to do any damn thing to your body. These clothes just didn't make the audition. They go back.
Yeah. By the way, I'm putting it right now for all of my parents. You need to put it on your calendar. You buy the thing, you place the order, you put it on the calendar when you're going to try it on, and you put it on the calendar when you're going to return it. I don't want to hear any shit about you've got 4 pairs of jeans that don't fit you sitting in your foyer in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and here's the beautiful thing. A lot of places, like if you happen to purchase your jeans from Amazon, I know a lot of people have thoughts about that. Like, drop it off at Kohl's or their little random boxes all over the place. There's no excuse anymore. You can find brands that have great return policies. I know Universal Standard has a policy where you don't actually have to pay. You can try them on, and then within 7 days you can send them back, and they make it very, very easy for you.
Yeah, I think that people have this like, well, I can't buy, like, especially COVID, like, I can't buy clothes because I never return them. Like, I can't try on multiple things because I am the type of human who does not return clothes that don't fit me. I'm like, I'm sorry, is that genetic? Like, no, you're not. Just plan on returning the clothes. Like, expect that this is an audition. You're not gonna, I love the audition. You're not gonna accept all of the clothing. You're gonna plan to return it the next freaking day.
Done. Yeah, you're in casting. There's no drama. They're not like, oh, I'm so sorry that you didn't get the role. I know. We're actually going to change the whole movie to like satisfy your needs so we can make a place for you in the movie. Like, that'd be fucking weird. No, like you just didn't make the, like you didn't make the cut.
There's so much pressure to keep the pants that don't fit because you're like, oh, I'm going to have to do this whole thing again.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to make the time to do it. Okay, that's an amazing tactical. I love that. So do it one item at a time. Is there a way to figure out like what item do I choose?
Yeah, and I think it's really and being really honest about this and not getting into fantasy land. What do you actually wear the most? Not like what you think you should be wearing because you saw so and so online and it looked really cute on them. Like, stop the madness. If you happen to rock jammies every day, then maybe we start with your jammies. If you happen to rock yoga pants every day, then let's like up level and get you the best damn pair of fucking yoga pants we can find. Like, be super honest with yourself about what you're actually wearing all the time, every day, because chances are that's probably where you need to start. And not a ball gown. We don't need to buy a ball gown or a shift dress or that white classic button up. That's no, that's for the birds. We're not going to do that to you. What are you actually wearing? Start there.
And I think a lot of the time that is undergarments for postpartum people. It's like, if you wore I don't know many people who get maternity underwear. Like, you probably wore the same underwear. It's stretched out now. Like, it's time. And then bras, your rib cage, just like pelvis is, your rib cage shifts during pregnancy, and it may go back, it may not. You don't need to like torture it back into place by wearing a bra that doesn't fit. Like, if you're nursing, get decent nursing bras and maybe get like the fall. No, I was going to say your boobs are going to be a whole different animal.
Yeah, no, your breasts. Oh, breasts. Oh my. Okay, so one of my favorite things is to do bra fitting with my people. And I want to like, whether you've had a child or not,
boobs change all the time.
Boobs change all the time. Sometimes they're firmer, sometimes they're saggy. Sometimes you get crepey skin, and then the next month the crepey skin seems to be gone and your boobs are doing something new. Like, they're doing things all the time. Like, so if we just normalize that, like, breasts are constantly sort of changing, I think it would be less dramatic for a postpartum mom who, maybe decides to stop breastfeeding, or eventually when she stops breastfeeding and her breasts deflate and she has like crepey skin and her nipples are not quite where she thought they were before. Like,
not where you left them.
Right. Or your breasts are lanterning outward now. Like,
is that a term? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, it's called. So when your nipples sort of point downward, it's called a lantern. And then sometimes it's more of like a lantern outward if like they actually spread. So breasts typically, like, for a lot of women, your nipples are not like little like you're not like car lights that are like perfectly positioned and like staring outward. No, for the most part, they're like lanterning downward, they're outward. Sometimes they have like a bit of a Cookie Monster effect where they're up and one's down. Like, you're normal human. Hi.
I honestly think this is one of those things that, like, everyone thinks the grass is greener. I'm like, I am a very thin human. I have like a large A, small B cup, maybe on a good day. Like, everyone's boobs do weird shit. Like, my boobs are not perky and symmetrical and straightforward. Like, that is not, and the same with like the arm, quote unquote, fat and the extra skin. It's like, everybody has those things. Like, stop blaming everything on weight.
Yes.
That's just part of having boobs, is that they're like,
Yeah, it's just normal stuff. So if we normalize that boobs have like their own behavior, then we can start to accommodate them for whatever they happen to be doing at a particular time of the week or the month. So for myself, like I have a J cup. In some brands, I'm a K cup. I have a very large cup size.
I didn't know a K cup. I love that it's called a K cup. Really wakes you up in the morning. Little hit of caffeine.
Yeah, talk to my husband, right? So so obviously like different times of the month, I'm going to have a dramatic difference in my breast size. Like my cup's going to be bigger because I'm already naturally bigger to start with. So I have bras for when I'm on my period, and I have a lot of breast tenderness, which a lot of postpartum moms will experience as well. So I'm kinder to them rather than sticking in them in a bra that is like foisting them up, flattening them down. That is so painful. Somebody like stabbed me in the eye. So I plan for that. And I'll encourage all of my ladies to do the same. So if you're going to, need a sleep bra because you need a little bit of extra support, then let's get you a really lovely wire-free bra to give you that extra support.
That is definitely a thing for postpartum people. If you know that you're like leaking and you need to get like a pad in there. What the heck are they calling? The name is escaping me. A breast pad? I don't know.
Yeah, they're the little circular breast pads.
Yeah. If you know that you need to have those, like how many times do we freaking leak on our sheets and we're like, guess I'm going to just strip the bed and wash everything again. It's like, you can get yourself, one or two nice little sleep bras that hold the pads on your nipples. Problem solved. You're not washing your
sheets. We can do it in a black. We don't have to get it in a nude that's going to get stained and kind of weird colored because that's what happens with breast milk. Gross. Like we plant but that's normal human stuff, right? Like fluids. We are weird creatures. So, planning for that with like a great black wire-free bra that gives you the support that makes sure, the pads are in place during the night. And sometimes just if you have tenderness, it helps to have that extra support. Like planning for that, normalizing that. The fact that for a lot of moms, who breastfeed afterward, they are going to have some level of crepey skin for a while. So maybe we get a bra that rises a little higher and we create some support for our breast tissue. And we find a bra that's a little more triangle shaped that we can put our skin tissue in to keep it supported.
Yep.
Like there's no shame in that. And I think if we talked about it a lot more, it wouldn't be this like weird secret underground of the mom who happens to like know the things that you can go to.
Oh, it's all the freaking time. I say things like, oh yeah, my boobs do that. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, everybody's boobs do that. Like, so I love where you're going with this, which is just this idea of like, what if you weren't allowed to believe that any part of your body was a problem?
Right.
Like, if it were like objectively fine, neutral, or let's even say good.
Yeah.
Is there, do you have like a magical thought to help people believe that? Like, how do they get to believe that?
I think it starts with asking yourself better questions. So I think a lot of it's like, why am I so fat? Why do I always look frumpy? What the fuck is wrong with me? When you think shit like that, guess what? Your brain is going to give you an answer and it's probably not very nice. But if we ask ourselves questions like, what would Fabulous wear? What would Fabulous do? How can I make this outfit so much better? These have like sort of built-in ideas that something's already pretty qualitatively okay. It's good. And if we start with that as a premise and we sort of build that into the questions we ask ourselves, our brains are more apt to go find the answer for us in a way that serves us better.
Totally.
Like for a lot of my clients, if they nitpick their outfits, I'm like, what's one tiny tweak you would make? What would you change about your body or this outfit? How can, like, no, fuck that. What's a tweak? Just give me a tweak. And then you find a solution as opposed to like sitting in a place of nitpicking. I call it like the difference between like a museum curator versus a Yelp reviewer. Like museum curators are like chamber pots are art. Like something people used to shit in the 18th century, like the right lighting and some velvet backdrop and we got to work of art, right? Like they have a totally different mindset. Whereas like Yelp critics are like, it's all shit. It was shit. It was a shit experience. It's shit. Like you can change the way you think. That if you drop into like a museum curator that sees a chamber pot as a part, like a fucking piece of art, like you can do the same for your body. but it's a mindset start. And the best way to do it is like, how can I tweak this? How can I make this so much better? What would fabulous wear today?
I love that. I choose badass, but I love the idea.
Yeah,
What
fill
would
in the
fabulous
blank.
wear?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that's come up for me a lot in my own work, whether it's business or money or, you know, style, identity, whatever, is that idea of like, we think that that we're going to feel a certain way when we get to a certain result, right? We talk about this all the effing time in my programs, is like, well, I will feel like I have my shit together, like I'm beautiful, like I'm worthy, like I'm whatever, once I stop peeing myself, once I get back to my pre-baby weight, whatever. And it's like, no, you have to do the things that the fabulous person would do if you ever want to get there.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, I mean, I started to wear makeup daily. I mean, I've worn makeup on and off my whole life, and I used to wear it daily when I worked in an office, but I started to wear makeup every day, like last December, this January, because I was like, I want to show up in my life like I have my shit together.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to wait until I have my shit together, or like when I am perfect, then I will be able to be calm. It's like I have to do the things that I would do if I already had my shit together.
Right.
And I have to think the thoughts I would think when I already had my shit together. And I'm like, this is so, once you're like, okay, what would I do? Like, how would I be feeling? What would I be thinking? I'm like, I would put the freaking lipstick in the office instead of in the house, because I'm never going to remember to eat breakfast and then put my lipstick on. It's never going to happen. It's got to be out here in the office. Suddenly I wear lipstick.
Yeah. And oh my God, I love that you brought up lipstick, because one of my favorite like postpartum clients that I ever worked with, she had just had a little boy, and where we started her on her up level journey is sort of what we called it, was a red lip.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter what she was wearing, if she had barf on her, if she had breast milk like squirting all over the place, because she had a little problem with leakage in the beginning. Like, no matter where she was, she had this bright red, fantastic lip. And she still rocks it. Like, you can see her on her Instagram stories. She's like at the grocery store in her sweats, like side ponies kind of cocked, and then her red lip. She's like, yes, this is how I live. And just a little act of like acknowledgement of herself, a little bit of self-love, that little bit of care, like those little teeny tiny things made such a huge difference for her. And I think for all of us, like, if you want to know where to start in your journey, start with a red lip, or pink lip, or a gloss, or hey, fucking chapstick. We could start with chapstick. Yeah. Like,
we make it so complicated, right? That it's like, well, if I wore lipstick, I'd have to like have the following shoes on. Like, if I wore lipstick, my hair would have to be doing this. And it's like, you could just do one thing, right? Like, the lipstick came after being like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some CC cream with an SPF on my face every day so that I stop getting signs of aging. Yeah. Like, this has to.
And I'm going to hit up my neck next time too.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And then being like, you know, that took zero time and zero effort. And I would like if I had more cheekbones now that I've given my face one tone. Like, you could just be like, let me do one thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then one thing leads to another, but it's like organic, instead of being like, I have to buy a whole new wardrobe. I have to put on a face every day. So much simpler. And it changes the way that you relate to yourself, because you're like, you know, I am the type of person who does this. Yeah. And people like me have thoughts like, damn, I look good.
Hey girl, hey.
Like, right? Once you start down that path of like, oh, I guess people like me do these things.
Yes. Yes. And I have a bonus course I call Getting Ready Like a Boss. And that's like literally what it's all about. Like, what's a tiny little thing in your getting ready routine that you want to work on? Because I think my clients think like getting ready means like an hour of like production and kid-free moments. Like, no, for most of my clients, I'm like, do you have like 5 minutes on the toilet? Can we like get you some lipstick while you're sitting there and like nobody knows? Like, can we work it out? Like, can you put some mascara on while you have your potty time? Because if we could kill two birds with one stone, boo, we can get you started. Because that's the reality of most
Yeah.
parents. Like, if you have 2 minutes of potty time alone, like, can we make this teeny tiny
Yeah.
thing happen for you? Where can we get you started? And like, I think it's like becoming the future self, but I also think it helps with the act of like looking at yourself regularly, even for just a minute in the mirror.
Mhm. Totally. And this, I did not expect this to go this direction, but one thing that I think, I have a daughter and I let her sit with me and we do makeup together. She like pops in the bathroom and she's like, "You doing makeup?"
Oh, I love
And
that.
she gets that some days I don't, right? Like usually it's like Saturdays I'm like doing yard work or something. But we do makeup together and I never say, "Oh, look how pretty you are now." Oh, is it like we say things like, "Oh, that's so fun. Isn't that so fun? What color do you want today?" Like the only thing she actually gets is eyeshadow. Everything else, like I just rub my fingers on her face and she's like, "Yay!" But I think that one of the concerns that people have, like, this is a feminist podcast, and I think that people are worried that if they're modeling taking care of themselves equals looking a certain way, that they're like somehow setting a bad example, that they want to be like, yes, 100%. I want everyone to feel like an incredible badass, like straight out of bed, no makeup, wearing whatever the hell you want. And that people are afraid that if they model grooming, that they're teaching their kids that that's what's required to be worthy.
Yeah, and I think it's this is so good. I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm a feminist and a lot of my clients are feminists. So a lot of what I get from my ladies a lot of times is, well, is it anti-feminist
Mm-hmm.
to want to get prettied up, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak? And I think it depends on your brand of feminism. Let's start
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah, totally.
But I also think that it depends on what you're choosing to model.
Mm-hmm.
Are you modeling, now I'm pretty because I've
Mm-hmm.
put the makeup
I
on?
have to do this because I look like crap if I don't.
Right.
Like
Oh my god,
that.
I'm a hot mess. I look like shit. I gotta go put my face on, as if you didn't have your
Mm-hmm.
face on already.
Yeah.
Like, right? So, it depends on the way in which you are modeling the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it also depends on what you're saying to yourself about yourself when the little humans are listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, beyond the, like, grooming, I think that's actually even more important because they're repeating after you. Like, little
Mm-hmm.
eyes are on you. I think about
Mm-hmm.
this with all of my nieces.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching so intently the look you give yourself when you look at yourself,
Mm.
the things you say to yourself about yourself.
Mhm.
I think, like, because that is so almost like a little sometimes insidious and it's not very
Mhm.
conscious on our parts. That I think is more of what we need to look out for. And then when we groom ourselves, what are we bringing to that table when that activity is going on?
Mhm.
And
And
I think,
Brené Brown says something about as parents, so often we only look at the members of our family like they're getting, your kids getting ready for school or something, and the only look you give them is the one where you're checking to make sure they haven't screwed something up.
right.
And we think that that somehow is okay, but like if you stand in front of the mirror and put on makeup in front of your kid, then they're going to get some kind of awful message.
Right.
It's like, really? Like, why don't you show your kid that like you love you no matter what you look like,
Right.
and you can choose to have fun by putting on a red lip?
If you want to. And like,
Mhm.
and I think it's what are you doing before you put on the red lip? What are you
Mhm.
doing when you take it off? And what are you making it mean in the in between? And I think all of those are, if we put too much credence on the act of grooming itself as sending a bad message,
Mhm.
we're almost fixating on one like 5% of an
Mhm.
entire day. And that is what we need to pay attention to in conjunction with what are we saying about the act of grooming. But
Mhm.
I think a lot of my feminist clients who focus too much on that aspect, they lose the bigger picture of how they're treating themselves all during the day. I don't think self-care equates to bubbles and a pink lip.
Mhm.
It could be one of many acts that you do to care for yourself.
Mhm.
Don't lose sight of that. when we're like argue so much against this idea that like this means this.
Mhm.
I think correlation and causation, we get them confused sometimes. I
Mhm.
don't think that's what is exactly happening here. It could be, but it's in the framework of a bigger picture.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those. I think this is a great place to leave it. Just like this idea that you can take the same act, you can wear the same leggings, you can put on the same makeup, but the thought that drives it is the thing the world sees and the thing that your kid sees and the thing that your partner sees. And if you think that you're only like you can only show up to work with makeup on because that's the only way that you are a palatable person, that's a problem. Well,
Yeah.
you get to decide if it's a problem for yourself, but I would
Right.
have a problem with that if it was me.
Yeah. Are
And
those thoughts serving you in the long run?
right.
Yeah.
And you can choose to like not do those things. And that doesn't change your worth in any way. It's just a reflection of what the hell you felt like doing this morning.
Yes. Yes. Yes, nailed it. Perfect. It's a reflection of what you felt like doing on that particular morning. Just like a picture of you online is a snapshot in time. It is not the actual you that we see live and in charge and in 3D. Like, don't lose sight of that because there's a snapshot in time where you said something that you regret, or you did something that you didn't particularly like, or
Mhm.
you wore something that you regret, which happens to all of us. Like, yeah, I love that. Beautifully put. Beautifully put.
So we've got lots of folks listening who are like, I feel called out. I need some coaching on getting my wardrobe together. How can people work with you?
Yeah, if anyone is like, "I feel so seen," like, welcome to the club, totally fine. You can come work with me. You can find my website, judithgaton.com, and just click on the work with me button or the main button, and there's like a little free style course about BS fashion rules, and you can sort of
Mm,
tiptoe into the world that way, definitely.
amazing. JudithGaton.com. That is where we'll send folks. And you're the same. That's your handle on Insta too.
Yeah, that's my handle on Insta, and if you Google that, all the shit will pop up as well.
Sweet. Amazing. Thank you so, so much. Anything else that I'm forgetting to ask you that we want to throw in?
No, I feel like we've covered a myriad of topics. I think I think we've broke enough brains today. We can leave them here.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.